Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday's edition of Weekend Waypoints here, production of SEC Extra and D1Baseball.com. Heck of a Friday around the conference. I know if you're watching this, you're probably eager to hear about Hagen Smith and Arkansas and all of that and then some. So we'll get to all of that. You see here our scoreboard from yesterday. Some upsets around the conference. Stony Brook over LSU, shades of 2012 there. I don't have to remind LSU fans of what happened in 2012. Stony Brook goes through Baton Rouge to get to the College World Series. Different circumstance, obviously, but they get the upset there to knock off LSU for the first time this season. High Point over Ole Miss. Ole Miss is scuffling. There's really no two ways about it. The offensive production has been a real issue. That's the biggest issue for Ole Miss. There are multiple issues there, but the offensive production is the biggest one. And that's a bit of a surprise given the portal guys they brought in and the offensive firepower that they bring to the table. So it'll be interesting to see how Ole Miss deals with that moving forward. But the game of the day, obviously, Oregon State, Arkansas, 5-4. Incredible effort by Hagen Smith. Words are kind of escape me in terms of trying to come up with how to totally describe what how good he was. And Aaron Fitt was on the scene and was gushing about it and glowing about it. And so head over to d1baseball.com if you want to read more about it. Aaron's got a piece from last night in Arlington on what he saw from Hagen Smith there. So I'm going to pull up the box real quick. All right, let's scroll down here to the pitchers here. Yeah, so 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 17 strikeouts. So if you're doing the math there at home, it means he got 18 outs and 17 of them came via strikeout, including the first 15 outs he recorded. Just absolutely dominant. And it's important to know, like, this is a good Oregon State lineup. This is not, it's a very good team in Oregon State, and it's not like this is just a pitching dominant Oregon State team that doesn't have a good offense. This team has a very good offense. You're looking at, as we scroll back up here, Travis Bazzana is a big time draft prospect. Gavin Turley was one of the most anticipated freshmen last year. Trent Caraway is one of the most anticipated freshmen this year. Mason Guerra, a very good hitter. Micah McDowell, a very good hitter. You just go up and down this order and you've got experience and you've got talent. And Hagen Smith just cut right through them. Now, credit Oregon State, they got back into the game as you see here in the line score. Arkansas jumps out to a 4-0 lead early. They score 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, the 2 in the 8th on a Guerra home run to get back in the game. So credit to them for, getting back on the horse, I guess, and getting back into this game and making it competitive. And it's slightly reminiscent of what we saw in the game I was at, which is, the Auburn Iowa game late last night due to the rain, in that Brody Brecht was great for Iowa, but the minute Brody Brecht left the game, not only did obviously the level of pitching drop for Iowa, but it felt kind of like Auburn relaxed and said, okay, we survived it. We're only down 3-2, which is what it was at the time. Like, let's go to work. And, I wonder if there was a little bit of that from Oregon State where, they finally get past Hagen Smith and it's like, okay, let's refocus here. Let's go to work. So they tie it 4-4. Ultimately, Arkansas comes back with a run on an RBI triple for Peyton Holt in the 8th inning to come away with that victory. So impressive on both sides. Just a fun game and a fun atmosphere. It just, with me dropping in, watching the stream periodically, it looked and sounded like there were a lot of Arkansas fans there. So a good turnout there, an electric atmosphere. That game was everything we were looking for from that game going into the day, and then some, frankly. Let's talk about player of the day. A lot of good candidates here. Do some shout outs here as I pull my notebook up here so I don't miss anybody I wrote down. Logan Jordan and Clayton Chadwick for Georgia both had 3 hits on the day. And I mentioned that in particular because, again, we're not going to know much about Georgia necessarily until at least the Georgia Tech series. I'll interrupt myself here. Connor Johnson in the comments on YouTube an Oregon State fan dropping in on Weekend Waypoints here. First of all, kudos to you, Connor, for being willing to watch this a day after that happened. I think a lot of fans would be not wanting to hear anything about it. So he mentions a lot of Bees fans there too. Absolutely. Great traveling fan base. Bees fans turn up wherever the baseball team is. So kudos to that. And yes, I will agree with your sentiment there that Hope, Hope May is all right there. I also got a comment asking about my shirt on YouTube. Shout out to username Moonshine. This is we got some cactuses and some birds, a little bit of a Southwest motif. I love a loud print polo shirt. We all have guilty pleasures in life. Anyhow, getting back to the baseball here. We're not going to know. We're not going to know about Georgia until at least the Georgia Tech series, which is next weekend, but probably not actually until we get into the teeth of SEC play. But considering the competition they've played so far, they've done exactly what you wanted to see from them. They've just dominated, and the offense has been excellent. And so we'll see. They're gonna have to prove it against tougher competition, but they haven't messed around with the teams they've played, and that's really all you can ask for. Other player of the day candidates, Dylan Brewer from South Carolina, a nice 3-for-3 game there as they came away with a relatively routine win. A couple of Alabama guys, Matt Gussetti, Will Hodo, both had 3 hits. Gage Miller homered, had 5 RBIs. Big game there. Alabama really poured it on as well. Braden Montgomery for A&M, 3-for-3 with a triple, 3 runs batted in. He's gotten off to a good start. He's been exactly what they were looking for there. Jackson Ross from Ole Miss, and in an otherwise tough day for Ole Miss at the plate, he goes 3-for-4 with a home run. So he did his fair share offensive production wise, but it was the rest of the club that was on the struggle bus there. But I'm going to go Jaden Davis from Vanderbilt in a big blowout win over Gonzaga, 3-for-4 with a double and a home run. Another guy that they're looking at as being an important piece of the puzzle there for the Commodores as they look to build out that lineup. So a big day for him there. Also notable for Vanderbilt, Braden Holcomb, freshman, hit his first home run, pinch hit home run. And he's a guy who, whether it's this year or into the future, is looked at as a future middle of the order bopper for Vanderbilt. And so first of what he hopes will be many home runs in a Vanderbilt uniform. So shout out there as well. Okay, pitcher of the day. Let's be honest, it's Hagen Smith. You don't do what he did and not get, kind of named the pitcher of the day, not just in the SEC, but nationally. So understanding that it's Hagen Smith, let's talk about some other options here, right? Because again, it's Hagen Smith. I cannot emphasize that enough. Pitcher of the day was Hagen Smith. So let's talk about some other guys who impressed just for variety's sake here. Nate Dome against Georgia Southern for Mississippi State, 6 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. And look, we know what happened in the midweek with State, but through admittedly a very small sample size, the weekend starting pitching has been pretty good for Mississippi State, has been certainly better than it was last year. At this point last year, we already saw cracks in the foundation of the weekend starting situation for Mississippi State. So the idea that this early in the season we can't necessarily draw any conclusions, I generally agree with that. But I do think we can be intellectually honest and say, look, so far it's been better on the mound for Mississippi State, and Nate Dome has been right in the middle of it. Great game for him against Georgia Southern. Tennessee did something interesting. So this is kind of a trio of maybe pitchers of the day for Tennessee, and they got pushed a little bit by Albany. I put this on here not necessarily because their stat lines were impressive, but because it's interesting what they're doing. They went with A.J. Russell, Chris Stamos, and A.J. Causey for 3 innings each. So 3, 3, and 3. That's kind of fascinating. A.J. Causey is a guy who could start. Now, he's not going to probably start this weekend in the TBA game, the Sunday game for Tennessee, because of this extended outing, but he's a guy who could be in the rotation at some point. Obviously, A.J. Russell is in the rotation, and I look at him as someone who could eventually be a guy who gives them, 5, 6, 7 innings in an outing. Chris Stamos, I'm actually kind of surprised. He's typically in his career at Cal, and then before that, as like a shorter relief arm. So him getting stretched out is interesting, and he's been pretty effective this year for the Volunteers. So just an interesting approach. I'll be looking to see how that evolves as the season goes on for Tennessee there. I will do a quick Intermission here in pitcher of the day. Great call there. Okay, so Moonshine, who commented on my shirt with the cacti, I actually did not know this. This is good information because I was at my own game. I didn't get to see every last detail here. AJ Russell pulled because of potential injury there. So my point stands about Causey and Stamos, but interesting with AJ Russell there. Certainly hope he's okay. I'll be looking to see what I can find out about that moving forward. But that's a big arm for Tennessee, somebody they really, really need, and somebody I like to watch pitch a whole lot. So certainly hoping he's healthy moving forward here. Also, Moonshine asks, will the Ole Miss coach Mike Bianco get fired this season? I would be we'll have a different conversation at the end of the season if it continues to go this way. But like it or not, and I know you're not an Ole Miss fan asking this, but like it or not, Mike Bianco's got enough equity built up over 20 years in that job. Mike Bianco really is Ole Miss baseball. That program was a nothing program until he got there. Obviously a national title just a couple of years ago. No matter how bad it gets, there's going to be an evaluation at the end of the season. In season, and I don't know if that's what you were asking, but in season, I can't imagine that happening. I can't see that happening. Again, different conversation at the end of the season, perhaps, but they're going to treat, I say all that to say, Ole Miss is going to treat Mike Bianco with respect and dignity with regards to his job status. That was going to be true in 2022 had they not gotten hot and made the tournament. So this is not going to be a situation where he gets tossed out because the season isn't going well. It's going to be, something that's evaluated in totality once things are done. Finishing up with some pitchers here in the pitcher of the day conversation, which again was Hagen Smith. Grayson Carter came on in relief for Vanderbilt. 3 scoreless innings. Carter Holton got the start, so Carter Holton in the rotation now. But Carter was great in relief, and perhaps that's just his role. I saw on Twitter he touched 103 yesterday. That's really bringing it. So perhaps have found a good niche for him there. Ryan Prager from A&M. It was against Wagner, so you have to understand the context here. But 6 2/3 innings, 6 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. He's just such an important piece for A&M this year as they look to show improvement on the mound. So that was heartening for Texas A&M and Ryan Prager. Looking ahead to the Saturday games of the day today, I've got 2. One is selfishly where I'll be, Wichita State playing Auburn in the early game today in Jacksonville. Again, I am in Jacksonville here today. Wichita State came up short yesterday against Virginia, but man, that team plays hard and they're playing with a lot of belief. They're under talented, they're under experienced. That's basically a brand new team Wichita State has in the dugout. But they gave Virginia everything they could handle and then some. So I'll be interested to see how they come out against Auburn. Auburn played really well. We didn't talk about this very much yet, but Auburn, great performance yesterday. Waited out Brody Brecht. Bats got hot whenever Brecht comes out of the game. The bullpen was excellent. John Armstrong was a part of that. Cam Tilley was a part of that. So good performance all around for Auburn to kind of take some punches and then punch back late in that game to get the win there against a good Hawkeyes club. So I'll be interested to see game 2 of that. And then obviously Arkansas and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State got a good win, kind of a needed win for Oklahoma State, honestly, yesterday, getting a victory over Michigan. So they're going to look to take that into Arkansas, and obviously they'll be thankful they're not facing Hagen Smith. But Brady Tigert, a tough customer in his own right, and that's something I'm interested by, not just today, but moving forward is look, let's not forget, we really like Brady Tigert's arm. We know how good he can be, but this is his first season being asked to be, a weekend dude from the beginning. So how does he handle good opponents like Oklahoma State? And Oklahoma State getting the win they got yesterday makes this matchup even more intriguing. So looking forward to seeing that tonight from Globe Life Field. Okay, finally some stuff to look for on the site. D1 Digest, obviously, that gets you caught up on everything that happened around college baseball yesterday. So grab your cup of coffee, grab your, in my case, water, because it was a long day yesterday at the ballpark and I need to hydrate. Whatever you have in the morning, grab that and read D1 Digest to get caught up on everything that happened. You can read me from Jacksonville. I wrote stories on Auburn beating Iowa late last night. I also wrote about Virginia taking down Wichita State in thrilling fashion, including a walk-off hit by a gentleman named Henry Ford, who found time after inventing the automobile and the Model T to play for Virginia baseball, apparently. So read that. Aaron, like I mentioned at the top of the show, Aaron Fitt has more on Arkansas's day and Hagen Smith's day yesterday against Oregon State. So definitely read that. And then again, we'll have, I will be back in Jacksonville, so more on Auburn. Aaron will be back at Globe Life Field, more on Arkansas. Kendall will be in Round Rock, so potentially more on Kentucky. Yesterday, tough loss for Kentucky, 6-4. Mounted a rally in the ninth inning, came up a little bit short there. So 6-4 loss to Washington State. No real shame in that, but looking to bounce back today. Kendall will be on hand. So again, potentially more on Kentucky in that one. That is going to do it for Saturday's Weekend Waypoints. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to everyone across, whether it's Facebook, whether it's X or Twitter, whatever you call it, or YouTube. Thanks for some of the comments here. It's been great to interact with some of you guys, something I want to do more of as time goes on. That's been a fun little wrinkle today, is being able to go back and forth with some of you guys in the comments. So join me again tomorrow for Sunday's Weekend Waypoints around the same time every morning. We'll be back with a recap of everything that happened today and get you ready for getaway day in the SEC. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.